everybody. My name's Jody Rose Franco. I'm with Rose of the Winds Travel, and I am very appreciative of Lori Kaluska and Citizens TV and each of you for joining me for this evening to talk about Costa Rica. Costa Rica is the place that a group of my travelers said, let's go next. And so I had found this trip with some research. It was offered by G Adventures, which specializes in small group adventures. And by small group, what I mean is 12 and under, and we were a private group, and we were 12 travelers, plus myself, and we had a tour guide the whole time. And G really prides itself in working locally, and so it was my third trip with G Adventures, and I feel like they really delivered an amazing trip for us. So we were a group of 12, and we traveled down to Costa Rica at the perfect time of year. It was their dry season, and we went in February. And why did we go? Because it was winter in Floyd, and it seemed like a really good time to enjoy amazing natural beauty and really good weather. So Costa Rica is known for many things. They have beautiful, pristine beaches. It is well known for Arenal volcano. It's still slightly active, not highly active, so that seems like a good time to go visit when it's just spitting out a little smoke instead of anything more. We also visited Monteverde Cloud Forest, and we'll talk more about the cloud forest later on, but it was, it's a unique place on the planet, and it was quite a pleasure to go and visit there. As I said, we traveled with G Adventures. It's a company that's based out of Canada, and the owner is a very passionate man about sustainability and tourism. And as much as tourism is growing now, I really want to be sure that any travel that my company is part of, as much as possible, can be focused on local and also focused on caring for the environment. So it's about economies where we visit, it's about maintaining the culture, it's about taking care of nature. And what was really unique and special about this trip is that it was curated by National Geographic. And so what that means is that they had a hand working with G Adventures to say, these are outstanding aspects of the country, and they would be very important ecological and cultural and historical places to visit and ways to educate your travelers. So Nat Geo was a big part of that. And then it's also part of the Jane Goodall collection, and that's a focus on the wildlife of any given place. So it really was packed. It was 14 days. And in those 14 days, we flew into San Jose, and we spent one night. And then from there, we traveled northeast to the Atlantic coast to Tortuguero. And in Tortuguero, that is where the turtles do their landing and their nesting. And ecologically, it's just a beautiful place that combines ocean, canals, and tropical rainforest. From Tortuguero, we traveled over to La Fortuna, which is the town near Arenal. We then took a boat and we traveled to Monteverde, which was, we had to cross a river. Then we took a van and we went up into Monteverde, and that's the cloud forest.
So you took a boat?
Yeah, we traveled in boat several times. To get out to Tortuguero, we were on a boat. Then we took the boat back to get to land. We did a van. And then to get to Monteverde, we also had to take a boat to get across the river. There's a Lake Arenal is there. And instead of going all the way around the lake, if you take a boat, it's a much quicker way to travel. And I found it pleasant. Did y'all enjoy the boat trip? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wind in your face, lots to look at. Yeah. The one that took us to Tortuguero, I looked back and it was called a motorized canoe. It was so much more than that. From Monteverde, we traveled down to Manuel Antonio and then back up to San Jose. Anything y'all want to add at this point? Not yet? Okay. So this is just more about what the trip was. And the National Geographic Journeys is not to be confused with the National Geographic trips that National Geographic offers. Those are high luxury trips. This is a much more affordable, accessible trip financially. And, but it has the National Geographic stamp on it because of what its content is. And the travel style, it's called upgraded. It just means that our hotels, instead of being standard 3-star, they were 3+. Some were right at 3, the one that we were not fond of. And then we had some that were definitely getting up to 3.5, 4-star. They call the physical rating light. And what that means is that we were on our feet, but we never really had to climb. We didn't have extended long days on our feet. And light really seems to be accessible for most of my travelers. And I have a lot of travelers that are mid-70s and younger. And I think that this trip was very accessible that way. So what's really nice is you need your passport, of course, because it's international travel, but there's no visa required, which is just one thing that makes it easier to travel to. Visas aren't game changers, they aren't deal breakers, but sometimes they require an extra expense or an extra effort. And so it's nice when one's not required. I just popped this in there. It's the different things that are included, and it's arrival transfer. We had tours in each place. We had boat rides. We had a private van to go from place to place. In every one of G's trips, whether it's in Europe, Morocco that we've done, Costa Rica, you have, well, I'll get to it in a second. One thing that they do that I really appreciate is in these specific places, they hire local, excellent tour guides. So it's somebody who's from that area that really knows it well. So the people that walked us around in the rainforest knew that rainforest. And if you went to another area, then it's somebody that knows that area and that fauna and that wildlife and flora. So. In our package, we had all of our hotel included. We stayed in a rustic jungle lodge. We had a lot of meals included. The cost of food in Costa Rica is very reasonable. I think we were paying $8 to $10 to $12, depending on your drinks. That would increase it. But the food was, I would say, really good. Our tour guide introduced us to the trip, and he had a great sense of humor. He was a very charming young man, and he told us how the food was not so varied. He said that you could have rice and beans, and if you got tired of that, you could have beans and rice. And so we really set the expectation great, because actually there's a lot of fish, there's a lot of seafood, a lot of fresh vegetables, a lot of fruit. So I didn't really go back and count how much extra I spent on my budget on food. I don't know if any of y'all did. But this is what I said to budget, between $500 and $650. And I don't know if we spent that, so.
We probably did.
So when you come in for this trip, there's 2 major airports. There's the San Jose, which is the capital, and then there's Liberia, which is northwest of that. So if all you're doing is the coast, you might want to fly into Liberia. If you are going east like we did, or if you're going south, then San Jose might be the place to land. And San Jose in the past, travelers were really warned against walking alone, going into certain areas. It had a higher rate of crime than some other destinations that you might feel really comfortable walking in. we didn't really tour San Jose, so I can't really speak to that. My understanding is that the markets in different places are a lot more accessible for tourists now. Always using basic caution, but that it's not as scary as it had been 10, 15 years ago. It's huge, and it's very spread out. And one of our travelers, June DeMonte, took some really good pictures in the city. I don't know if I put any of those in here, but it was attractive in a lot of ways, the different parts that we went through. Even in the very industrialized area, just the industrial look was very interesting. So our first day, we spent the night, we met each other in our hotel, we went out to dinner together. And the next day we took off in a van, and it was probably the roughest road that we rode on. And we were on it for a while. I don't know if I wrote down how long. It was really long. Yeah, it was about a 4-hour car ride. And the first hour was paved roads, and maybe the rest was intermittent dirt and paved. And it was not in good shape. And it's fascinating because it's such a popular destination, and so many vans and tour buses go on this road. And I was really surprised that it wasn't wider and that it wasn't more graded and updated. It was just very surprising. So, we rode along and we survived it, but I think that was tiring for some travelers. But it was also very fascinating to look out the window. That's what's so great about doing land travel when you go, instead of flying from destination to destination. To go across on land is to really see what's happening. We went through areas where we saw the banana plantations. And does anybody remember how vast it was? Like, for a long ways. But we could see the mechanization, which was really interesting, just to see how they cut down the big bunches. Unfortunately, they wrap them in blue plastic, which from an ecological standpoint is adding plastic. And then those bags are also somewhat impregnated with pesticide. So there's a downside of this industry, but that's not why we're here. We're talking about travel. But they put them on these conveyor belts, and the conveyor belt takes it from plantation in to be processed. And we actually, I don't know if I put one in here, no, June caught a picture, somebody caught a picture of the guy with a harness, and so he's got a harness on, and as he's walking, he's pulling a bunch of bananas down the road. So they supply 13% of the world's bananas, the 8th leading producer in over 180 countries. And the benefit of having a good tour guide is the fact that he was educating us as we rode down the road, and he was talking about the political strife that had happened over time, like the beginning of the industry and the middle of the industry, and how the industry then came back in a better way for the people that worked there. So we were educated. So here we are in our little car, and we're going to Tortuguero. And what was really spectacular, we stayed at a resort, a rustic resort, and it was in a place similar to this, in that we were between the Atlantic Ocean and a canal, a very small canal where we were. And I loved it. There's a lot of people that stay at other resorts that are interior, but that ocean was just, it was rough, it was alive, it was really, really beautiful to see the ocean there. So I really enjoyed that. Ta-da! This is our pal Paul Najira. And Paul, he just always had a smile. He is an ambitious person. He's studying
Ecotourism. He's got his master's in ecotourism.
And he's buying a house. He's got a girlfriend. He loves what he does, and he studies a lot. He's a major photographer and a birder, but he he could really spot things well, and he could name a lot of things for us. And he, to me, like Yassine and none of y'all were in Morocco, he is what you want of a tour guide. He's somebody who's inclusive, he was kind, he was capable, funny, intelligent. I mean, he just enjoyed being with people, and he was a pleasure to travel with. And it was funny how he would say, be there at 3 o'clock, let's say, and at 2 seconds to 3, he would walk in. He was never early, but he was never late. So one of the treats, obviously, is fresh coconut water. And so he and I and some other people went and got coconut water. And this is when we were in the town. Was the town called Tortuguero? So this is us on the boat. And we're just first in these wider canals, and then the canal got smaller and smaller.
I think one of the things that was funny was...
Here's some of our gals. They really coordinated their pink for this picture. But we were in the town, and they were just having fun meeting and seeing and taking pictures and getting a few souvenirs. But these ladies are a lot of laughs and really fun to travel with. Here's one of June's pictures, I think. Yep, she took some really colorful, great pictures in the town. And we got to our resort called Turtle Beach Lodge. And they call it rustic, and by rustic what they mean is you've got hot and cold running water, you've got screens, you've got electricity, we had shower, we had Wi-Fi. But you know, there wasn't any busyness there. It just had the restaurant, it had a pool, there was wildlife all around, there were tons of birds, lots and lots of spider monkeys that would just entertain you for hours. And it had scorpions.
Lots of scorpions. And bats.
And bats.
That was fun.
But see, this is the room, and it was, I liked it. You know, you've got a big fan.
It's nicer than my room.
It was like a cabin, yep.
You have screens.
We had rain at night, and it was really nice, yeah. And we were really lucky we had rain at night, and none of our days in Costa Rica were interfered with by rain. We were really lucky. Scorpions! So here's Wanda, just being fun and leading us in some exercise with our morning breakfast. There is something about travel where you seem to always be in between meals. You eat all the time. And this was one of our favorite places. What was great is you travel down there, you're in the city, you drive halfway across the country, and we spent 2 nights, 3 days at this rustic resort, and in between our really interesting excursions, we had downtime. And in this downtime, people enjoyed each other's company, went for walks. There was this really nice pool, went to the beach. It was a really nice place to unwind because we've all just come in from winter holidays, travel, and I thought it was really well planned to have at the beginning your rustic experience. I thought it really set the tone.
This location wasn't near as comfortable as the other beaches.
This was not a swimmer's beach. No, agreed. No.
None of...
Yeah, oh, my picture blurred out. Anyway, they had hammocks on the beach, and you could lie there, read your book. It even had Wi-Fi there. You could watch the monkeys playing in the tree over you and hope they weren't going to throw a coconut on your head. And there they are. I mean, there were, it was not crowded there. There were probably 40 other guests or something, I don't know. And they were as busy taking pictures of the monkeys as I was, trying to get the shot. And Lori took this picture. One thing about travel is how much fun it is to use your camera, and just, you see such wonders and you try and capture it in your lens. And it's really fun to have those pictures as memories. So we did a guided boat tour in the morning and a nature walk that evening. This is the nature walk. And so we had this gentleman right here. I'm sorry I don't remember his name. I do have it written down, but he very knowledgeable. He knew where to take us for the walk and things that he pointed out of interest. And he had big binoculars, so we could look through his binoculars if something was far away. They gave us big gum boots so that, you know, we were walking through the jungle, we were protected up high. And, you know, it was just really fun to see Ken and Martha in wonder looking at something. I think that's what it's all about, is those moments where you just really are seeing something different and special. And you know you're not home because it's new. We were on our boat ride, and these were the cutest things in the whole world, and they're bats. Now, whoever says bats were the cutest things, but they line up. Paul, takes us in the boat, and he pulls up, and this tree is just to our right. And all of us are like, what does he see? What does he see? And we're looking all around, and right there, I mean, you know, I think I was sitting pretty close. It was like right there were these bats, and they just line up at, you know, during the day like that. They've got their pattern. Look how well they blend in.
Well,
And
we didn't see them until they moved.
that's right.
All of a sudden, their eyes started moving. Did you move that? We went, oh, yeah. They were kind of cute.
They were pretty awesome. And then there was all kinds of bird spotting, and I don't know, several people, we use WhatsApp when we travel. It's an application on your phone, and it's a way to have a group, and then we communicate within the group who's going to dinner, who wants to do this, and then people post their pictures to share. So in the show that Hari does, I'll give a list of all the names for credits, but I don't know which picture is which person's. So this is a picture of a heron, and of course it was rather far away, but this is a good shot that probably, maybe you got it, I'm not sure who, maybe Paul or maybe me, I don't know. This anhinga was drying its wings and really gave us a good show. We watched it for a while. Monkey jump in a tree, a yellow-throated heron, I think. There's a little tree frog on your bottom left. We saw so many other wonders too, but I just don't have photographs of everything that's there. And really, it's an amazing place to go. I think for travelers that are going with G, small group, or just with their own families, Tortuguero is a great place to go. I've got clients going for Christmas break, and they're going to go there. So G Adventures is really passionate about projects that they do in the local communities. And so one of the projects that we went to was Mi Cafecito. And this is a coffee cooperative for a community, and they grow and produce coffee. And says there are 200 farmers and their families that are being supported through this project. That's all of us except for I photoshopped out the one person that said she would rather not be in the picture. So please tell her I really honored her wish. She said she would be in one, and she's in that one. So this is us just hamming it up, having a good time.
I was going to say the owner, who's in that black shirt on the right,
Uh-huh.
she was very informative as
Yeah,
well.
she was.
Right, so they're speaking about this woman here, and she works she's one, you know, part of the staff, and she was a really good guide, and she definitely educated us and was fun to spend time with. When we arrived, and what was really great, I think the mark of a good tour, you do have to, if you're going to go to a country and within a period of time see it, you have to realize that you have to transport from one place to the other. It's really cool to be in a car or van because you see things, but you want to break it up. So I really appreciate that G really breaks up their trip nicely. So we traveled a couple of hours maybe, and then we got to the coffee plant place, and the first thing they did was feed us because, you know, it had been like 2 hours since breakfast or something. So the food was really good. And it was comfortable and well presented. Coffee fun facts. I just found we all learned so much there. And I don't know, you don't need me to read them, but I thought the thing that was really, we all commented on this. A light roast has more caffeine and less aroma and flavor than a dark roast. A dark roast has less caffeine, but more flavor. An espresso then has less caffeine, but more flavor. And most people think a shot of espresso is like, you know, high test. They say don't keep it in the freezer. That was a finer point that they said. Don't keep it in the freezer. And they said you can use it within 6 months after grinding. But they said, of course, grinding fresh every day gives a better cup of coffee. They don't sell the first quality locally. They export the best quality. And then the Ticos, the Costa Ricans, drink the second quality. Yeah, we could come up with it. I don't have it, but I could create it. But like the red skin is the outside, and that's used for compost. The mucilage was one of the interior, you know, mucilage as it sounds, slimy. And that's what they use for coffee liqueur.
Which was delicious.
Oh, it was good.
You know, that would have been a nice thing to have right now. It's really slow growing. Arabica grows above 800 meters. It's the best quality. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Gave us an appreciation for coffee. And the coffee was really good traveling there. They do a pour through. And we won't exactly say right now on air some of the nicknames for the sock that they pour through. But all they have is a piece of cloth, and they put it on a piece of wood that they've carved out, and they just do pour through basically through flannel. It tasted really good. And as they were teaching us and getting down to the beans and the seeds, we planted little seedlings. So someday little June and everybody else, little seedlings are going to be growing over there, harvesting. We left there. We were on our way to the Arenal region, and the main town people stay in is La Fortuna. And La Fortuna is at the base of the Arenal volcano, and it has a lot of really tasty restaurants. It had an amazing place for massage. I think that we really liked that. Some people did a chocolate making workshop. We went to hot springs. And
The volcano hikes and this.
that's right, yep, volcano hike, which is, I've got a picture of that here.
We saw the top of the volcano. Yeah.
That was something that was outstanding. Some of our friends that travel with us had been there in the past, and they never saw the top of the volcano, and we saw it every day. And when we first saw it, I was like, gotta get a picture, we may never see it again. And then we got to see it and see it, so it was great. I just threw this in there because the volcano's there, but you see them throughout the country. It's really fascinating that things grow so well in Costa Rica because of the climate that even the fences are growing. And so they make use of 2 different kinds of trees, predominantly. One was called the tourist tree, and that's because it's got red bark and it peels. And then the naked Indian, and it's a type of gumbo limbo. But they just put sticks in the ground and then they sprout. And as it says here, it's security, privacy, it's sustainability, it's environmentally friendly, but it's also labor intensive. We saw people with big chainsaws and they're clearing, you know, the sticks that are growing the branches all the time. But that creates fodder and more compost, so it was really cool. Oh, blurred getting big, sorry y'all. So this was a highlight. This is another G for Good project. And we went into, who remembers her name?
Mama's house, that's all our.
Was it Luz Elena?
No, that was the song.
Oh, she was just such a smiley, happy mamacita. She just had a beautiful house, and it's set up so G supports her, pays her to have her kitchen dining area be able to facilitate groups coming in. And she teaches you how to make tortillas and talks to you about anything you want to talk about, you know, local information. And she just laughs a lot and dances, and she sang a great happy birthday song for Lester there. And she's a perfect hostess. She really was. But we got to learn how to make tortillas. And these had cheese in them. And she probably put like 3 or 4 cups in with the cornmeal. It was a lot of cheese. She just made a simple but delicious meal, and her plantains were incredible. Remember how they were pure sugar. They were so yummy. But that was fun, and we laughed and had a really good time that night. Big birthday celebration. We had cake and a good night.
So she's lifting the lid there, they just throw the lid down into it?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and they cooked over wood where we went to the coffee plantation too. That's how they were heating their water. So casada is their famous rice and beans and rice, and this is the main food that they eat in Costa Rica. And what's different is it's not like Mexican cuisine. They do not do hot and spicy. So we had 2 hot spring options. Some of us went local, and some people went to an upscale, very nice spa, hot springs. The Gucci spa, that's it.
With the drink.
And the big buffet.
Big buffet. It is hot.
Yeah, this is a thermal river. So it's being heated by the volcanic action, you know, the heat rising up. And you could go different places and have different temperatures, and it was dammed up, and you could go deeper, and people were building cairns all over the place, and we just kind of floated around. Martha said it was as relaxed as she's ever seen Lester. In the water, he just looked like a corpse, just hanging out.
I'm not sure I like that. I take offense to that. You describe me more like a corpse.
He was really relaxed, which is good, right? Like on vacation, it's good to hit that place. So we left Arenal, and after several days there, so here we are again, all loaded up on the boat. Luggage got front seats, but that's okay. It felt great. And then we saw a lot on the water that day. I think June captured this of the blue heron. We kept bugging it. We kept going everywhere it was. And throughout riding through the country, you see wind farms. And I thought it was very interesting. I didn't write down. Wind is really a small portion of their sustainable power. They have 98.1% of their electrical energy is renewable, from renewable sources. Hydroelectric being the largest, then geothermal being another one. And then they had solar, wind, and biomass is when they burn wood and other. So Costa Rica was fascinating in that they have sustainable tourism, they have sustainable energy, they have a lifestyle called pura vida, and what that means is pure life, and that means that right now is what matters the most, and don't let these little things bother you. Just really, you know, make the most of life and try and be happy. And it was really obvious traveling there. It was a really uplifting place to travel because of the positivity that country exhibits. And they're such a small country, and to see that they're doing so many things smart was like, well, if they can do it, it sure would be nice if other countries, if we could do these things too. And it's really just because they have it as a priority and a focus. So we got up to the cloud forest, and again, we were treated, part of our package included this tour. And we went out into the jungle in the cloud forest, into the cloud forest. And they carry these great spot scopes. And, you're at the mercy of what can be seen that day. And these guides are very experienced. And they speak to each other, and they say, oh, there's a something over here and something over there. So they sort of speak about where you should go and find things. But then they find the minuscule, like the tarantula that was in the hole. I mean, there's just all these little things that they can spot as well. So we got to see a lot of different things. And so look at this creature. That's a creature. That is a caterpillar that has lichen and all kinds of things growing on it. And to our eyes, it was just lichen. But to these guys, they knew that that was the camouflage of this creature. And this was, I've got everybody's names written down. He was really a pleasant person to spend time with and learn from as well. And before we started the walk, we had a slide presentation that introduced us to the area and what the cloud forest is. And then we went out to see what we could see.
Is that one of our?
No, this is one that I lifted.
I didn't see.
Yeah. So this is the resplendent quetzal. And it's the iconic bird of the cloud forest. And we did get to see one, some of us, when we were on the zip line tour. But you could hear them more often than you could see them. And it's really a treat to see them. But we didn't see anything like this. We just heard it and saw it sitting way far away on a branch. It's extraordinary. And June might have taken this one. I don't remember who took this picture. But people say, where should I do my hanging bridges tour? And where should I do my zip line? This was the place that was recommended to us, and it was really fantastic. The hanging bridges, I don't have all the stats on me right now, but it was really an extraordinary thing just to be up above and within the treetops, to see what we saw at eye level and down below. And they were very, very stable. The only time I feel like you really felt movement was when you were near the ends, but the rest of the time it was really doable. For travelers that get tired, we might have made a mistake in that we did the cloud forest walk and then we did the zip line, which is very exhilarating. But after all that exhilaration and going up and down those to get to the platforms, that would have been enough. But then on top of that, we did the hanging bridges, and people got really tired.
The elevation was?
Pardon?
Elevation?
I can't recall either.
What were these three activities?
Elevation did not cause any loss of breath by any means. It wasn't that kind of elevation, if that was part of the question. I don't think I made a slide of this, but the cloud forest is very, very threatened because of climate change. You could really see it, and part of what's happening is because of the warmth, the cloud is forming at a higher elevation. And so what's happening is everything at a lower elevation, which is most of the land mass, is no longer in a cloud. And so that's a major change, and so there's a lot more competition for the animals because they're moving up, trying to be in the cloud, and now the cloud is basically above the land mass. So it's very, very, very threatened. It's very sad. Zip lining, woo-woo! This is the one picture she said I could use. Okay. And so here we are, those of us that were crazy enough to do it, and one of those was how long? 2 miles? Didn't they say? So another thing that we did is the Monteverde Institute. And so Monteverde was settled by Quakers And they moved there because of persecution, and they wanted to go find a place where they could just live more peacefully. And when they were touring around, they got to Monteverde and they said, "Oh, this is so beautiful. All right, let's all move here." And everybody moves there, and then that was the dry season. And then the rainy season happened. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is really a hard place to live." So they had come there to raise cows and produce milk. And after a season or two, they realized that they couldn't get the milk from there to the markets. And so they started producing cheese, and that became a primary crop that they produced. But then they also were conservationists, and they realized that this corridor, this area, was really threatened and really worthwhile to preserve. So they've been really the key population to preserve the cloud forest. So they've got this seedling program, and they put us to work, and we definitely got dirt under our nails, but we learned a lot. And then this young woman is actually a descendant of one of the Quakers that settled the area, and she's making this her life work as well. And so we filled bags with dirt. 10 bags with dirt equals 10 trees to plant, 5 trees that survive, carbon offset for a 6,000-mile trip. So we each got this certificate that showed that for the work in the trees that we planted, we had a carbon offset for that trip that we took. I would like to do something like that for every trip that I do. I would feel more environmentally conscious. So one reason that they are doing this reforestation is for the three-wattled bellbird, which had a great song. We got to hear the song. We didn't see the bird, but what they're trying to do is make a corridor so that they can fly from place to place and have a connected region to breed and survive.
The other piece of their mission was working with farmers for sustainable crops.
Yep.
Sustainable farming practices.
I don't know if I got any pictures of that. I think I have the bird song here, but y'all can go home and listen to that. I don't know how from here to make the video play. Cool bird. So while we were at Monteverde, some of us were told about this ficus tree. And what has happened is the ficus drops down its roots, and the tree that's inside eventually dies. So this is a completely hollowed out tree with only the ficus on the outside. And we were there. Here we are in our 50s and 60s and 70s, and everybody else that was there was in their 20s. And these kids are like climbing all the way to the top. And so, of course, Martha and I are like, we're going to go up too. And we both got about the same height before we were like, this is satisfying. But it was really, really fascinating and beautiful. And this is inside the tree looking up. And you could just climb all the way to the top and see this amazing view. That was a highlight for me. It was extraordinary. So we finished in Monteverde, if you can picture it, and now it's time to go down to the coast. Anything y'all want to add about Monteverde? Very good. We didn't have such a great hotel, I will say that. You might have been thinking that. And it was very hilly. So there's this bridge, Tarcoles. I don't remember how they pronounced it. Tarcoles. Tarcoles Bridge. Pardon?
Maybe the accent's on the
Tarcoles, okay. Well, it's called the Alligator Bridge. And so people stopped there and looked down, and there were 100 alligators. I mean, it was just crocodiles. And so you really got to be at a safe distance and really see this huge population of crocodiles. And they were big, really big. Like I read they were 12 to 19 feet. And then when I read that, I thought, no.
Yeah, they were huge.
12 to 19 feet.
Pretty high up.
Yeah. I mean, that's as wide as my living room. That's as long as my, that's just unbelievable in a creature. This was fun. This is, it's called El Avion, and it's a restaurant, and they've got this old jet park there. I don't remember the whole story about the jet.
Oh, no, that had a history piece to it.
It did. But the food was really good. They had very good ceviche. I don't know what other people had, but
Very good cocktails.
very good cocktails. And the view was really pretty. I think I put a picture of the view in there. And so you're sitting there and the ocean breeze is coming up and you're finally on the ocean because you're in the town of Quepos. So one day I was out on my own, y'all were doing something else, and I actually went back here and just got more ceviche. I ate ceviche almost every night of that trip. So we had a beautiful hotel here. We were really happy. They put us in this nice area, and we all sat around. There were chairs over here, and this was the pool, and there weren't that many other guests, so it's kind of, we just really had it made. Really nice, comfortable rooms, and it was a really nice place to be. I think we were there 2 nights. And we went to Manuel Antonio National Park, and I think that our experience was that it was the first time we were in the midst of a huge crowd.
Yeah.
And we had been in all these, a few other places where we had been out in nature looking for wildlife, not crowded. And they opened this park maybe at 8 a.m. and we all got there, and you're like the crowd is pushing you along, and it was less of a pleasant experience for us because of the previous experiences.
The beach is a different feel.
And they had very similar wildlife to other areas. But y'all got the golden ticket. This group got to see a sloth. So sloths are amazing, right? Like they eat leaves and they only poop once a week. And one way that they aid digestion is by laying with their stomach to the sun, and the sun's energy helps them digest. So cool. So they were lucky enough, our group got to see a sloth poop. And it was the coolest thing of their trip. And she had the baby. And they took a video. I wasn't with them. I'm so glad y'all got to have the experience. But the sloth came down the tree, and it looked like it moved faster than I was used to seeing sloths move. But it came down the tree, and it
There you go, it's once a week.
once a week, you got to go. And they have triangular tails, and they use their tail to dig a hole, make a little trench, and then they poop in the trench. And this sloth came down with the baby, and the whole time it held onto the tree in case there were predators. And you see it go like this to dig its little trench, and then it moved back up the tree. And what I surmised is that sloth intentionally came down in the midst of humans because it understood, I think, that maybe the humans weren't going to bother it, and it was safe from predators because the humans were there. Yeah, so I think I have some pictures here. We definitely got to see some creatures, but I think we saw more creatures on our walk back than we did on our walk out. So we were fascinated seeing a spotted deer. Even though we're from here, it was really cute. And we saw iguanas. This is June's picture. I don't know if she saw it here, but I put it in. White-nosed coati.
We did see some on this trip.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is from.
Yeah, and these have like 2-foot-long tails. So here's this creature coming along down here that's in the raccoon family, but the tail sticks up like a meerkat or something. They're pretty cute. And they're scavengers. And this is the agouti, and it's their squirrel rat. I think it's more rat-like. But they're really known for disseminating seeds, just like squirrels do, right? So they take seeds from here to there, and they make their stashes and forget them, and then germination happens. Another iguana. Do you remember what kinds? Or Yeah. And toucans. I don't know if this was yours or Paul's. And a parrot. There were a bunch of parrots that we got to see. And scarlet macaws.
I saw those in Tortuguero, but I don't remember seeing
We saw them at the hotel.
that manhole on top.
Yeah, we saw them at the pool. We looked up in the tree, and I know Paul and I did. This is a video, and it was just palm fronds in the wind. I really liked it. I didn't know I put it in there. So this is the group all down at the beach, getting to experience the beach before they went out on a beautiful catamaran ride. This is the picture of the beach, and this was a very swimmable beach. It was beautiful. The water was just gorgeous. So this is within the park, and then you can go, I guess, north of this, and then there's a public beach as well that has chairs, and they deliver drinks on the beach, and they've got umbrellas, and people come out and they'll go get your food for you.
Horseback riding.
Horseback riding, yep. Stand-up paddleboard. Did you see SUPs?
Yeah, they did have paddleboards. There you go.
I think, was this your photo? Yep.
I got one in there, Jen.
I was jealous that you had that picture. I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
That was so cool. And just little creatures. This was over in Manuel Antonio. I just was looking at the minute. We saw a snake in the water there. But then some people really took advantage of the opportunity and went out on this catamaran tour. And I think there were things that you loved and things that you didn't love. The music was really loud. It was really beautiful. There's a funny picture here. This was the snorkeling experience. So it looks like there were a lot of people. And the picture on the left, the brown pit viper, I actually saw when I was walking up from the waterfall with Lester and Martha and Valerie. And then you and Valerie saw this one. And this is called the eyelash viper. It's got these kind of cute eyes and big old eyelash protrusions that stick out. But they are deadly. And the thing that's bizarre is when you see them, they're right there, right next to you. You could walk past hundreds of them probably. And they, they're not out there trying to bite people. You just don't want to step on one. But they're all over in the jungle. And we saw some frogs. And then when we were, some animals were a nuisance. We put our trash out, and then all of a sudden all these raccoons are there. And then a lot of people in the group at one time or another really had scorpions in their room. So this is just kind of a basic meal, and it was delicious. They do have farm-raised tilapia. I think we ate a lot of tilapia there. But then you have some restaurants that also just present really beautifully too. Can't remember who got this. It was an eggplant dish that was just really pretty. And then there's always a perfect moment on the beach. I mean, that's pretty hard to beat. It had fruit. It was breakfast. Yeah, that looked like a perfect day. Y'all, the pineapple was so good there. There was so much pineapple being grown, and it was prolific. And you can just see, like, what I feel like I missed was going and trying a whole bunch of different fruits. We kind of only had what was presented to us, and I would love to have had like a local experience and tried more fruits. But then at the same time, what's really great about traveling in Costa Rica, you can drink the tap water. They will take US dollars. You can exchange if you want. Most people speak English.
And their currency was easy to understand.
Yeah. Yep. What else was amazing? I had a whole list of you don't need a visa. You can get there, time change. It's not like when you go east or west and you have to go through jet lag. It's just you've dropped south and it's the same time. There are a lot of reasons that it's really great to travel there. Here's June's picture of Bumpy Road. But I popped this in here because travel can look really attractive, but it's also really demanding and hard, right? Like you have to really keep track of your stuff. You can't lose your passport. You need to keep track of money. There's a lot of parts that are really great, but you also have, you know, trying moments that are real. So, oh, you can see live fences on the right there. And this is another not so sexy part. You've got all your luggage and you're waiting for your vehicle and you're just standing there with lots of other people, and you know, it's really that comes with travel. This was hilarious. Iguana crossing sign. And our last dinner at a just divine restaurant where everything was locally sourced. I had ceviche, but it was made with cassava. It was phenomenal. But this is a group of really good travelers. I'd go anywhere with y'all. Honored to have gone with you. And it's always good to end on a sunset. So that was our trip. I've got more trips coming. If anybody wants to go, we're going to Nepal in March. I've got 2 openings still. I've been asked to curate a trip to Spain in the fall 2020. So I'll be working on that. We've got Costa Rica this fall. Not Costa Rica, Croatia, Montenegro, and Slovenia. And my contact information. This trip was $2,500 for the land package. I think we're only going to do Spain. Tom and I just did 3 weeks traveling Spain and Portugal, and we had to eliminate more than we did. I mean, it's just vast what's in Spain, and it's vast what's in Portugal. And I'd really rather just, I'm thinking that it's smart just to do Spain, and it would be Barcelona, Madrid, go south towards Granada, Toledo, all those different places. Do a circle, come up to Sevilla, do Ronda, Cordoba, and do that well. Definitely small. Ronda's a smaller place, Cordoba's a smaller place. Granada is not large, and that's where the Alhambra is, and that's worthy of a couple days. I've had my clients ask to not move every night now. They'd rather stay 2 nights in a place, and so mostly 2 nights. I think Sevilla is worthy of 3 nights. It's an amazing, amazing city. There's a lot you can do there. So anyway, I'm working on curating it, and any input is most welcome. But I think that Portugal is worthy of its own trip as well. Y'all, thank you for coming. Thank you for traveling. This is virtual travel. Yes. And you get to sleep in your bed tonight.